Hi guys, I'm here with you a story for the Good Old Days magazine. It's called The Guest Book, and Sherm just put our marriage guest book out there to settle the stand. So when my aunt and mom comes over, we're gonna say, "You sign in to the guest book. We want you to sign in, so we can prove that you've been here." Oh, it's funny. Sure, put it over there at the pen. They're going to think we're insane. All right, we are insane. The guest book. No one escaped the obligation. Just like Mom and Cindy's not going to be able to escape the obligation. And this one was by April Knight. All right. When I was growing up in Kansas in the 1940s, almost every home had a guest book. I told you, sir. It was usually about 10 inches wide and 8 inches tall and had about 50 pages in it and were decorated with pictures of flowers and houses and sayings like "Home Sweet Home" and "Home is where the heart is." Our book had a picture of an elegant southern mansion surrounded by lovely gardens with a rainbow over the house and bluebirds flying across the sky. I want theirs. Sounds so beautiful. Their guest book sounds beautiful. Listen to what their guest book sounds like. Had a picture of an elegant southern mansion surrounded by lovely gardens with a rainbow over the house and bluebirds flying across the sky.
Well, you can draw, can't you?
No.
Yes, you can.
Our own house was an old two-story wooden house that looked nothing like the picture on the cover of the book. No matter who came to visit, even if it was Uncle Ralph, who came once a week, or Aunt Beulah, who came once every 5 years, after they'd finished their glass of iced tea and their piece of chocolate cake, my mother would ask them, "Have you signed our guest book?" She'd scurry to the hallway, where she kept it safely stored in a desk drawer, and she'd scurry back with a book and a fountain pen, as if the company might escape before signing the book. The pages of the book had spaces for a name, an address, a telephone number, and the date, but the worst part was the last line that read, "Comments." Even as a kid, I understood it was right to ask people to write a comment. It wasn't right, about their visit. Of course, you had to say something nice. People would fill in the spaces, and then for a comment they would write, "I had a lovely time," or "Thank you for your hospitality," or "I love your new curtains." Mother would smile and thank them as soon as they were out the door. She'd open the book and see what they had wrote. Sometimes she was happy about what they wrote, especially if they'd gushed over something. But if they simply wrote, "I had a nice time," or even worse, didn't fill the space for the comments in, then she was upset and felt insulted. When we visited other people, they would sometimes ask if we had signed their guest book, and of course we had, because we only visited relatives or people in our own neighborhood. I can remember only 2 times that a stranger came to our house. One was a man looking for odd jobs. My mother was sure he was a hobo who had jumped off the train that just ran 2 blocks from our house. She told him if he was hungry, he could pick pears off the tree in our yard, but that she didn't have any work for him. The other stranger was a tax collector, and from force of habit she asked him to sign the guest book, which was probably the first time that ever happened to him. After he was gone, she decided she didn't want him in her guest book, and she drew lines through his name, which only made it more noticeable.
What's that?
The tax collector said, "I don't want you in my book now." Oh, it's so funny. She never got the book filled, not even half filled. There was no famous autographs in the book, just the names of neighbors and relatives. She was sure someone famous would wander to our doorstep someday, that she'd invite them for tea and have them sign her book. She was sure Clark Gable or John Wayne would have a car accident and stagger to her house, and she'd save him and bandage him up, and he'd be so grateful. He might take our whole family to Hollywood or give us a bag of money. I never knew why John Wayne would be driving Elm Street in Lawrence, Kansas, but Mother desperately wanted to be famous, or at least know famous people. She kept the book for 20 years. She was convinced it would be valuable and worth some money someday. I couldn't see why anyone would pay to read Elmer Mills, Box 54, Horton, Kansas, July 7, 1954, thanks for dinner. Ironically, I was never allowed to sign the book, partially because I wasn't a guest, and partially because Mom was sure I'd spoil the book with dirty fingerprints. It was a time when every piece of furniture had a white doily on it, when women wore cotton dresses they bought at monkey wards, and people visited neighbors and had iced tea and cake, and signed a guest book.
Monkey wards.
Yeah, I don't know what monkey wards is. Some kind of clothing store, I guess. So that was a good story. I thought we had a good laugh for that one, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your day. Bye, guys.